Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to discuss two very important pawn endgames that really demonstrate the true power of opposition and how it can be used to win your endgames. This first composition we have in front of us is made by Ernest Pogosyants. It's white's turn to play and win the game. Now first of all, we see that we can't take that pawn because black is going to play king to d6 next turn and then capture our pawn. For the same reason, we can't move the king anywhere else because black is just going to capture our pawn the next turn. So the first correct move is to push the pawn, and we're going to look at different responses from black. Alright, so let's take a look at king to d7. White would play king to e5, and then black would move to d8. And now what are we going to play here? If you're thinking king takes pawn, well, unfortunately, that's just going to draw the game. The reason why black played king to d8 and not king to e8 is because he was secretly hoping for this blunder. The move is drawing because black can gain opposition by moving to e8. I'm not going to explain opposition because I already do have a couple videos focusing on that tactic. I'm going to link them in the description for you guys to check out later. But opposition vaguely is when the two kings oppose each other. And the side that made the last move has what's called opposition. Now in our video, black has the opposition because he made the last move. You see those kings looking at each other over here? Yeah, that's opposition. Alright, so we know what opposition is now, but why is it so important? Well, I would say it's going to win you about 99% of your endgames. Here, if black has opposition, white is never ever going to be able to promote this pawn. And in this position, white's winning move is to gain opposition. But how is white going to achieve that? The winning move here is actually king to d6. You see these kings looking at each other? There you go, opposition. Now, since white made the last move, white is the one who has opposition. This position is easily winning for white. Okay, now back to our initial position. If black pushes the pawn, we're just going to capture it. King to d7, and we need to be careful not to push the pawn because we're going to lose it. Now here, white can either play king to d5 to gain opposition or make a detour and help his pawn promote from the other side. Both of them are winning moves. Now if you're playing as black, you could try something like king to c7, but in this position, you would just push the pawn and promote it without your king's help. Now the best defense here is with king to d6. As white, you need your king's help in order to promote your pawn. So we need to bring our king closer, which is why we move him to e4. Black is going to play pawn to e5, and what is our next move here? You need to be careful once again because you can't push that pawn just yet. You still need your king's help, so your next move should really be king to f5, to which black is going to inevitably respond with pawn to e4. Okay, so now what are we going to do? Are you maybe a little bit scared of this black pawn promoting? Maybe we capture it. Well, it's too bad. If we do that, black is going to play king to e6, and it's going to draw the game the next turn. So maybe we're thinking now is finally the right time to push that pawn. Unfortunately, no. Black is just going to play king to e7, and we're not going to be able to promote that pawn. If we play king to g6 here to protect the pawn, this is actually going to lose us the game. Black would play king to f8 and block that promotion square. And now the white king is way too far away to stop black from queening. Even if the position starts to look a little scary, the correct move here is actually king to g6. Even if we distance ourselves from the black pawn, this doesn't really concern us because we're going to be able to promote first. Pawn to e3 by black, and we push our pawn as well. If black decides to push the pawn once again, we're going to promote next turn, and then move to the e-file and capture the black pawn. If the king moves to e7, then we play king to g7 to secure that promotion square, and again, move to the e-file and capture the black pawns. Let's get to the second endgame and see if we can beat that one as well. It's white's turn to move, and even if he is one pawn down, this is a winning endgame for white. So can you find the right moves? Now, if you're starting off right away with king to e6, I'm going to tell you right now, you just lost all of your chances of winning. Black is going to play king to g6, and white cannot infiltrate. King to e7 is met with king to g7. King to e8 is met with king to g8, and so on and so on. Black is never going to allow white to pass that f-file. Instead, the winning move here ends up being king to d6. The only way for white to be able to infiltrate and capture black's pawns is by having the opposition. This is why the correct move here is actually going to be king to e6 and not king to e7. Even if king to e7 looks more natural, this move would allow black to regain the opposition by playing king to g7, and again, white has no way of advancing. Black would play king to g7 next, and again, pause the video and think about what should be the next correct move for white. Alright, if you're feeling a little bit greedy, and you really think that the best move here is to take this f-pawn, I've got some unfortunate news for you. You just drew the game, because black is going to play king to f7, and by playing king to f7, what did black just do? Huh? That's right. He gained opposition, essentially guaranteeing the draw. Just think of it this way. If I have opposition, I win. If I don't have it, I draw. So, you need to make sure you have opposition no matter what. Now in this position, white's only move is king to e4. Then, we have king to e6 by black. Pawn to f5 check, king moves to d6, and the only moves for both parties are the king moving alongside the 4th and 6th ranks facing each other. Here, white should play king to e7 in order to maintain the opposition. If black decides to move to g8, now it's finally safe to capture, because we're going to take both his pawns, and even if black has opposition, it doesn't matter because we have one extra pawn and that would give us one extra move. Meaning, we could waste a pawn move to either regain opposition or to distract the black king and help the h-pawn promote. If black moves to g6, white would be able to penetrate through the f8 square. King moves to h6, king to f7, and to h7, and again, white would start taking the pawns. Let's go back to our initial position because black has yet another trick here that you need to be careful of, and that is if he goes to h7 instead of g6. Now you may be tempted to go to e6 immediately, but bad news, black is going to regain opposition by playing king to g6. Okay, so maybe now you're probably thinking of king to e7. Well, unfortunately, that move is also going to draw the game, and I hope you can already see why. It's because of the g7 move. The only correct move in this position right here is actually king to d7. White needs to maintain the opposition. Quick note for you guys, opposition happens when the squares between the kings are an odd number. Now, no matter what black tries next, white is going to be able to infiltrate. King to h6, king to e8, g6, f8, king to h7, king to f7, and we can see that white is winning. If black plays king to g8, either king to e8 or king to e6 is a winning move here. Alright, so I hope that these two examples really cemented in your head how important it is to gain opposition in your endgames if you want to win the match. Thank you for being a subscriber and for watching my videos. We'll see you in the next one.